Hello everyone, welcome to the PowerCollab March edition, and today we are going to discuss on a very special theme, which is being continued from the last PowerCollab from the Fab month. So if you haven't watched what has been discussed to the last PowerCollab, please find the link in the video description and have a look for that one. And without killing the time, I would like to introduce Sweta to the call, and then she is going to talk about one of the very interesting topic, which is how you can use the external data sources within the Power Pages. So over to you, Sweta.
Thanks a lot, Ambesh. Hello, everyone. And as promised in our February edition of PowerCollab session, today I'm going to cover the very interesting topic of connecting to external data sources using virtual tables within the Power Pages data workspace. So let me quickly share my screen. So this is our topic for today. And what's new about this? I mean, what is new? We could always integrate external data sources using virtual entities and integrate it into Power Pages. The thing that is new over here is that from April onwards, we will be able to do it in our Power Pages Design Studio using the data workspace. This experience was available in Power Platform so far, but now from March onwards, it's in public preview where we can do it in Power Pages Design Studio. And then from April onwards, it will be available to everybody. So without wasting much of the time, let me dive into the demo directly. As I explain this, you will understand that this experience which we have with the Design Studio is more streamlined, it's more guided, and it's much more easier compared to our previous experience that we had in Power Platform. Let me consider a use case in this case. For example, I have my product master, which is stored in an SQL data server. And I want to display this information onto my Power Pages website. And then by displaying this information, I want to enable my users to be able to allow spare parts through my Power Pages website. So considering this use case, let me explain you the setup that I have done. I've already set up my SQL Server database and my SQL Server in my Azure portal. And I have connected it to my Server Management Studio. So you can see this is my SQL Server, and these are the different tables that are available. So the table that I'm going to consider is this one. It's product spare parts table, and I've already created some sample data into this. So different parts of coffee machines that the users can order on my Power Pages website. And now I want to integrate this external data source into my Power Pages website and how I can do this using my Power Pages Design Studio. So let's dive directly into that. So I'm in my Power Pages Design Studio. I've selected my environment, and this is my active website. It's just a bit slow initially, but let's just wait for it to load. Yeah, I click on three dots and move to details. And here I can see my data workspace. So here I will be able to see all the tables that I've used in my website, and then I can also see the list of other tables as well in the Dataverse. And now when I want to create a virtual entity, I have to select table over here and select new table from external data source. So when I select this, we are directed to this page, and you can see the experience is very guided, streamlined compared to the previous experience. And here we can select the connections that are available. So I've already actually connected to SQL Server. But then if you want to create new connections, you can click on this. And this is how it will actually look like when you're trying to create new connections. So you are directed to connections. And here you can create more connections. So for example, if I want to create SQL Server connection, I have to just click on this icon, and then different authentication types are available for you. For me, I have selected Microsoft Entra ID because that's what I've selected for my SQL Server. And yeah, based upon your requirement, you can select different authentication types. Once you are authenticated, your connection is established. So in this case, I've already done it. So I will directly select my SQL Server, but you also have option of manually configuring your connection reference. Yeah. So I select my connection and I move to the next step. Here I have to give my server name and my database name. So this is my server name. And this is my database name. Move on to next page. Yeah. So here you can see, I can see the list of all the tables that are available in that external data source. So let me select product spare parts table, which I want to integrate, and move next. And you can see over here, it will do the first hand mapping of the virtual entity that gets created in Dataverse with the columns that are available in the SQL database. So these are the names that it is picking up directly from the external source, and then these are the suggested display names of your virtual entity. And then these are the schema names. So you can edit these schema names based upon your requirements. Same is the case with the entity that gets created or the table that gets created. You can edit them based upon your requirements. For now, I will keep them same and then move to the next step. And here it's review and finish. So here you can review your changes, your external data source, your Dataverse table that will be created. If you want to still do some changes, you click on edit configuration of table and you will be moving back to the previous step of configuration. So once I have done this, I will finish my configuration. Okay, but then
picked bad timing because it says at the top while another import is running. So maybe your solutions are being updated right now.
yeah, looks like that. But then I already have one more example that I've used, so I can continue with that. So let me finish this, and it won't let me finish. So let me close this. And I have another example which I have already used, and that is of this. It's a demo product table. So nothing much you have to do once you've selected your target entity and hit the finish button. You have to wait for some time and you will be able to see the virtual entity in this list of tables. So just to give you the context, yeah, this product entity is in my target source database of my SQL Server over here.
Maybe in the meanwhile, a small question from my side. So for someone who hasn't worked with virtual tables before, how can I imagine that? So let's assume a new record has been added to my SQL Server database, or actually to my virtual table in Dataverse. How's the synchronization? So is it like a streaming operation, or what happens if I add 100 rows at a time to that SQL SQL table? Does it reflect that instantly in the Dataverse virtual table, or?
Could you come again, Milad?
Yeah, when you are adding some new records to your SQL Server table, or from Power Pages side to the virtual Dataverse table, is the record saving instantly? So when I'm saving something into the visual table, is it also in some seconds or milliseconds reflected also on the table on the SQL Server side?
Yeah, it is. So when you add some records in your SQL Server, and if you want to reflect it into your virtual entity, then it does take some time, but it's instantaneous. So some seconds, I would say, for it to reflect back onto your Power Pages website or your data or your virtual entity, which is in Dataverse. So let me continue with this. I don't. Yeah, it's still loading. But then this is the data which I have actually created in this demo product. So it's already available. Now I can see the data from the external source into the Dataverse. And now let's try to use this into one of our Power Pages web page. So for that, let me create a view. Create a new view. So here you decide which columns you have to display. So I'm going to display product number and product name. For example, save it. And then let me create a page to display this. And add a list. Yeah, so this is, select the table, which is demo product, and then the views. So view is product list. Done. Let's sync this and preview it. So this is the external data source, and this is how I can display the details into my Power Pages website. And if you add, say, a new record into your SQL database, it will take hardly a few seconds to reflect it onto your web page. So this is how the new experience of integrating external data sources using virtual entities in your Power Pages Design Studio works. Sincere apologies, I couldn't show it to you the entire process, but there was nothing much left. It was pretty then straightforward. Any questions?
No problem at all. No problem at all, Sweta. Like, we know a lot of things are running on the background, especially if we are using the trial instances. So that is totally fine. But we got the idea that how to, a step-by-step process, how to make a connection, how to make or connect to your databases, tables, fetch the data from there, and use in the list. And in my opinion, from as per my last information or knowledge, you won't get the preview in the list if you're using the virtual tables, right, or the virtual entities in the list on the Power Pages. So if you're using probably the other tables from the Dataverse, you will get a preview. Maybe I think Microsoft somehow has changed, but I think this was also, you can only get in the real time in the real action.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for your time, Sweta. And then without waiting a bit more, so I would like to now invite Milad, and he is going to talk about some of the pipeline uses in the context of the service principle. So I don't have to talk much. I think it's turn of Milad. So over to you, Milad.
Okay, great. Thanks. So let me share my slides. I hope they're visible.
It is visible. Thank you.
Great. So as said, we are talking about Power Platform pipelines and the usage of service principles. This is currently a feature which is in preview at the moment, hopefully soon in GA, but with all the changes currently with the pipeline configuration, also interesting how it will look like in the future a bit. So when we are talking about Power Platform pipelines, I'm not talking about the ALM accelerator, which still can be used, but was the, let's say, the primary thing which end users or administrators, Power Platform developers could use in the past. But what I'm especially talking about is the usage of the default Power Platform pipelines within solutions, which are only applying to managed environments. This is one notice which is very important. So the situation before, or let's say the current situation when you're not using the delegated service principle. So let's zoom in a dev test prod environment setup. When you're using the pipelines, the developer do need the same privileges as they have in their development environment. Why is that the case? Let's assume the developer creates Dataverse tables, apps, flows, environment variables, whatever, but also creates a security role for the data access for their custom table, then he does need the same permissions also in the test and in the prod environment to even create these artifacts within their solution. So when he's able to create a security role in the developer environment, he also needs the same permissions to do that in the test and in the prod environment, because basically the usage of the pipelines is an easier way to, instead of exporting and importing their solution. And this can lead to some issues, or at least from a security perspective, maybe the security departments or some people have issues with that situation, because let's assume we have a shared prod environment. Then if developers just use the pipelines as it is, then these developers would have a lot of high permissions, which they really wouldn't need in their in the prod environment, and this, as said, can lead to some security issues, especially when we are talking about a shared productive environment, where multiple solutions are hosted, and with the privileges they have to create apps, flows, change them, create security roles, etc. These permissions are very high, especially when you are using the non-customized system customizer security role, which is a very privileged or high privileged role in the Power Platform, and I guess also in Dynamics. So now the delegated service principle is coming into the play. So what's the difference? Before, the developer started the pipeline and the solution was imported with his rights or her rights into the test and prod environments. And now the service principle is taking the job of exporting the solution and importing the solution in the test or prod environment. Why is that a very positive effect, especially from a security perspective? Let's assume the developer has his own or a shared developer instance where they are working on some solutions, etc. Usually they most assumingly have high privileges on that environment, but you don't want that these people have the same high privileges in the test and the prod environments. So you're using the service principle, which is a replacement instead of using the developers, let's say, credentials or permissions to upload the solution. The service principle does have the higher privileges then, and is of course also administered by the Power Platform administrator or environment administrator, for example. And these are taking or having the permissions to create security roles, create apps, flows, etc. And therefore, as said, the developer doesn't need these higher privileges on the test and prod environments. So how can I create such a delegated service principle? How does it work? I put some screenshots in it, and because not everything can be shown directly, but there's also a short demo how at the end it looks like from the end user perspective. So at first you would need an app registration. There is no specific permissions needed. So user.read, I think delegated permissions are the default, can be remained. So no changes in that, but you need a secret. So therefore you would need to create a client secret. Second, in the deployment pipeline configuration model-driven app, so for those who are already using pipelines, they already have this model-driven app for the deployment pipeline configuration. You can add into the deployment stage, you can add this, or you can check mark this this option for is delegated deployment. And then you can select service principal or stage owner. So just short remarks, stage owner is like a new other Azure AD account or Entra AD account, sorry, who will have the permissions to upload that. So it would be a delegation to an account, to a personal account, and not to a service principal / tech user. And here you would need to add the client ID of the app registration. Then, and this is a very neat feature, very cool and very, especially from an administrator point of view, a very good feature. You need to create an approval flow, which starts as soon as the developer creates on deploy to test or deploy to prod. I won't talk so much about the actions, but you can add an approval workflow in it. For my demo, I removed that step, but let's assume the developer wants to deploy his solution to test. Then let's, for example, an administrator needs to approve the deployment in order that it takes place, actually. And as a last prerequisite, you need to add the service principal as an application user to all environments represented in the pipeline and give him the needed rights to do everything. And especially when we are talking about security roles, he would need the system administrator to create them or change the existing ones. Okay, now let's go to the demo. I've created a video of it because the deployment especially takes some minutes and I don't want it to wait so long. Then let's start the video when I know how. Yeah, okay. Now it's running. Now I hope only the video is showing up. If you could just quickly tell me. Yeah, it is, I guess. Yep. So let's start the recording. So the current situation, we are in the development environment. You see the owner is currently a personal account called PP in this case. When we are clicking, or when we are going forward, we see we are in the dev environment. And then we are coming to the place where you can see the deployment. And here you can see already set up the deployment pipeline from development to test to prod. And let's click a bit further. So now we are seeing, I'm clicking on next, and now it's taking a bit. That's why I'm forwarding a bit. So since this is the first time deployment, you need to update your connection reference so that it's also available in the test environment. And after I set up my connection reference in the test environment with my credential, you see this small indicator here, share connections with the service principal. Some of you might seen the feature to share your connections. Yeah. And you can only share it with service principals, actually. You cannot share it with another person. Not the same as you have within flows, but when you're going to the Power Platform environment, go to connections, and where you see already created connections, you can only share it with a service principal. And this is needed because the service principal needs the permissions to use your connections to import it into the test environments. Yeah, and then we go a bit further. We are clicking on next. Also a nice feature, your environment variables are called environment variables to be changed for each environment. So for this case, I just put test environment in it. And now I'm clicking on next. Here I can put some deployment nodes. And now when you are clicking on deploy, let's assume you have an approval flow set up. I just skipped that point, but you will still see that because it's just by design. At some point, you're seeing here, your request to deploy here is pending. And when you're seeing that, now, if an approval workflow has been set up, your administrator would have gotten an approval in Teams, for example, when you're using the default Microsoft approvals. And yeah, but I just refreshed it because I don't have an approval. I also added a small hint here for also a new topic regarding pipelines. So you are seeing this one, create new pipeline. This is what I meant by there is a small change in the pipeline structure. Also, pipelines are going to change in the next months. Now, developers are able to create their own pipelines in these developer or managed environments. Yeah, but this is not the main topic for today. And yeah, then let's skip it a bit further because, as said, it takes a while. Now it should be on business test or my test environment. Let me search for my solution. It's called Demo for All. And we see it's deployed successfully. And here also we can see that the owner has also changed, because now the service principal is getting the ownership of it. Yeah, a very nice feature. Will fix a lot of security issues, in my opinion, regarding when you are using dev test prod environment or a dev test prod environment setup. Developers do not need high privileges on the test and prod environments, and the service principal is therefore allowed to have them. And yeah, that's it, actually. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Milad. It's really interesting to, to see all of this new changes live in the demo. Really appreciate for your time today. And then I think I have a note from Sweta that now the things are working. So maybe Sweta, if you really want to just give a closer for that one.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot. Apparently the things are working now, so I can actually show what I wanted to show. So after we hit the finish button, we can see the virtual entity created in the list over here. So these are the tables in the site, and this entity gets added over here. The data is still not appearing. It usually takes some time for the data to appear. But then let's try to use this virtual entity in one of our pages. But before that, let me create a view to add this in the list. Let me just modify the existing view that's there. So there is a name added. Let me just add also the order code so that the customers are aware about the code when they place an order. Save and publish. And then let's create a page where I can add this list. Select the table that I created. All product spare parts view. And let me call it as spare parts list. It's done. Yeah, here you need to configure the permissions. So let me just add it for anonymous or for everybody. This is not recommended, but I'm just doing it for the demo. Yep. This is the validation that they show, which is a good thing. Let me sync. And let's see the preview. Okay. Let's try to refresh or. Okay. The demo gods are not really with me today. But ideally, you should see the data available over here as we saw it in the product list. So this was also data from the external source. I created a virtual entity of that in Dataverse, and I could integrate this list on my Power Pages website. And this is how the data is visible. And the same would have been the case for the spare part list, but there is some issue with the data. It's also not appearing in the design studio. Probably would be available in some time. As we know that there are some outages happening in the background, it might be interrupting with the demo. So thanks a lot.
So thank you so much, Shweta. And I'm just overwhelmed with with all the wealth of the information, like how to utilize external data sources within the Power Pages and the service principle in the pipeline. So again, a heartfelt thank to you both, Shweta and Milad. Before we part way, I kindly request you to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please contact directly with Shweta and Milad if you have any queries regarding the topics what they have presented today to their LinkedIn profiles. And consider subscribing the channel if you have not already. It's great to see your enthusiasm for learning and sharing the knowledge. Thank you everyone to be in a call, and hopefully we will meet again in the month of March. Our PowerCollab, because we have another a set of the speakers who would like to share the knowledge for this month, and because the video is really getting long, so we don't want to extend it, but we will come up with another version or the part 2 for the March collab release. So stay tuned, stay learning. Thank you so much.